I'm going to try to make up for not being as eloquent as our last two speakers by moving around a lot. So those are very inspiring. I'm going to talk about work. Work matters an awful lot. In fact, I did a quick calculation and figured out that we spend a third of the prime adult moments of our life in work. And that seemed like a really insightful thing to me until I remembered that we also spend a third of our life asleep. So then I thought, you know, the most profound message I could share today is probably that we should all go buy really nice mattresses. Work can be, or should be, a form of fulfillment and dignity. I don't know anything better at doing that. To work with people you care about, whether it's in the military or a company or a nonprofit or church or your family, on a shared goal is a source of fulfillment and happiness and satisfaction, the best one I know. Daniel Pink wrote a book called Drive, shortly, and he identified 3 motivating factors for everybody: mastery, autonomy, and purpose. Working for mastery, autonomy, and purpose is what makes us happy. I think that alone versus together is a tough thing to achieve all 3 of those, particularly purpose, since purpose requires impact, and our impact is limited when we work alone. I think, therefore, there's an implicit social need to motivation that isn't quite captured in Pink's work. So what are our choices for work? In the past, many of us aspired to work for a large corporation, or in fact worked for large corporations. Unfortunately, large corporations tend to be bland and static and complacent and inefficient and wasteful and not very inspiring. There's oftentimes an internal logic to work to large corporations which has nothing to do, that they want to follow, which has nothing to do with productivity and satisfaction and production. The motivating factors of mastery, autonomy, and purpose are sometimes hard to come by when you're in these situations. I think their very size is detrimental to what they do. So I'm sure they're not trying to be this way, but they're fighting something that's very difficult to win over. And there are, of course, some large corporations that do manage to do that, all the more reason that they should be considered amazing. I believe also that large corporations have some pretty significant barriers to innovation, which is something very important for us nowadays. Most recently, many of us, whether we wanted to or not, have found ourselves working on the other side of the spectrum, which is freelance. In fact, the Government Accountability Office estimates that 30% of working adults are either contractors, freelancers, or consultants. And this is a number that's been growing in the last 10 years. With the freelance mode of work, it's easy to get autonomy because you have no choice. You have to be your own master. And you might have the opportunity to become a master of your work, depending on what you do. You're exposed to the competitive pressure of the market, which is a good thing. It keeps you honest and keeps you working hard. But there's some drawbacks, too. Your capacity is obviously limited. You're just one person. So how much impact can you have? And without impact, can you really have achieved purpose? You get to do everything yourself, whether you like it or not. That means sales and marketing and accounting, bookkeeping, taxes, all of these things, which probably aren't what you're passionate about, you're responsible for. And then lastly, you find yourself working alone in many cases. And that doesn't satisfy what I believe is an important part of motivation, which is the working together. In short, no one's got your back when you're a freelancer. So all is not lost. I'm here to tell you about an alternative. And that alternative is what I call the creative consultancy. Creative consultancies offer innovation as a service. Please note, very important, I'm not saying that creative consultancies are innovation consultants. I'm saying that they provide outsourced innovation. A critical component of what a creative consultancy does is it makes something. It makes the innovation. It implements. It's not just like a consultant that comes in from out of town, listens for a while, tells you what to do, and then goes home. I've identified several types of firms that fall into this category. And I'm going to talk about first the example I know best, which is obviously software development. There are 2 Particular firms that I want to mention, Pivotal Labs in San Francisco and Menlo Innovations in Ann Arbor. Competitors of ours, but friendly competitors and very good companies. They fall well within this category. Obviously, I'm most familiar with Atomic Object. We build web and mobile and embedded software applications for other firms. We don't have our own products. Our clients include Fortune 500 companies and single-person startups and everybody in between. We're 30 people, mostly designers and developers. We work out of our Grand Rapids office. Clients come to us for our expertise, not our products, but our expertise in product development. You might have heard of Art Prize, the radically open art competition that takes place in Grand Rapids in September. We built the mobile app for iPhone that helps you navigate and vote during Art Prize. We just released something for the city of Grand Rapids. It's called the recycling application. We partnered with Local First. Local First is an organization that encourages people to shop locally. And this application on the web lets you collect points by recycling, and you can turn those points into services or products at local companies. Pretty excited about that one. Another example of work we've done for a firm in San Francisco is called Catalog Choice. If you listen to NPR, you probably heard their sponsorship there. They're like the don't call list of paper catalogs. It's a little bit ironic since I think Catalog Choice is working against the interests of the recycling app, but there's some other examples out of that I've thought about. The design consultancies like Cooper and IDEO help customers figure out what their product should be and how people are going to interact with it. Product development companies like Disher Design in Zealand does in the physical world what Atomic Object does in the software world. They make products for their customers. There are market research firms like Entheosis in San Francisco that helps you figure out what your product should be in the first place and who wants it. There are innovation consultants that specialize in the process of innovation as well as the implementation of innovation. There are entertainment design and environment design companies. Illuminating Concepts down in Troy is a very interesting one. They make audio and lighting products that go in places like Disney theme parks that enhance the user's experience of those theme parks. And there are special effects companies like Eden FX that make digital animations and digital environments for their clients. Now, not every service firm is one that would qualify as what I call a creative consultancy. So, for example, law firms and accounting firms and cleaning services and IT services provide critical services to their customers, but those services aren't an inherent part of the innovation of those customers. So that's why they aren't in this list. I found that the creative consultancies have some common characteristics. First of all, they don't have their own products. There's a big difference between a product and a service company. They focus on selling their innovation expertise, and they sell it as a service. They create, they don't just give advice. They have employees that focus on those services and their expertise and some mastery of some craft. They are delightfully lightweight. Their assets, these creative consultancies, consist of things like ideas and reputation and practices and process and teamwork, things that are very lightweight and very transportable. They don't have things like massive amounts of machinery and a physical plant and hundreds and thousands of employees and national sales forces. And then lastly, they are all relatively small. The clients of creative consultancies are either large corporations or well-funded startups. The common theme there being money. What we do is not inexpensive. It's good value because we're good at what we do. If you're a good creative consultancy, you're good at what you do. So it provides good value, but we still spend a lot of our clients' money. One thing that I've always wondered quite a bit about is it seems like there should be a risk for the clients of these firms to outsource their innovation. I don't think they actually are taking a risk here. So I think the answer to the question, is that a risky thing to do, is really no. And it's because of how they work together. The clients and the vendors, the creative consultancies, work together very collaboratively. The clients bringing product and domain expertise, market knowledge. The creative consultancy is bringing expertise and innovation. They both need each other. The clients own the IP or the product that comes out of there, so I don't think they're taking a risk with this outsourcing. Creative consultancies exist in an ecosystem. They don't exist in a vacuum. They can't do it alone. There isn't anything to do alone, obviously. They are in a symbiotic relationship with their clients. So the clients are taking the risk and hopefully the reward of their innovation, the innovation's success or failure. The creative consultancy is providing expertise in innovation and maintaining a pool of that expertise at the top of its game, something that the client needs. The client takes away, the creative consultancy takes away what I call dumb risk. Dumb risk is you build something of poor quality, or you build something of poor quality, or build something of good quality for way too much money, or you miss important deadlines, or you provide a bad user experience for the product you're building or the innovation you're building. That's dumb risk. Clients shouldn't take dumb risk because there's no upside to it. If you're doing something innovative, there's going to be plenty of risk anyway, but that risk hopefully has an upside if you're successful. So creative consultancies take dumb risk off the table, which is a huge service. The value proposition for creative consultancies is really simple. It's better results. I think there's some structural reasons for this. First of all, creative consultancies are in an extreme competition. They've got to be not only better than a potential internal team at one of their clients, but they also have to be better than all of their competitors too. And that competition keeps them lean and focused, efficient, dynamic, and worried. They're always worried about their next job. In order to stay that way, you have to realize that a creative consultancy is only as good as their last project. And so that's what keeps you worried and keeps you good. Creative consultancies, the people who work for them aren't distracted by the internal motivations and burdens of their clients. And this is a big positive. I've often been told by the customer that we work with for one of our clients, wow, it's great to have this atomic team on my project because I don't have to worry about those people being stolen away or repurposed. You're dedicated to me. I own you. That's a really good thing. The employees of creative consultancies are oftentimes more experienced at innovation than the clients they work for because that's all they do. So they do it over and over and over. And they get a lot of practice at it. They should be good at it. They're also project-centric, not career-centric. As I said, most of these creative consultancies are very small companies, relatively speaking. There isn't a lot of career ladder advancement. And so where your time and attention goes instead is to mastery of craft and professional development. So a compelling value proposition isn't enough to make for a better work environment, and that's one of the things that I'm very excited about. But I think there's structural reasons why creative consultancies tend to be a better work environment for people as well. I'm just going to roll a couple of pictures of Atomic's office while I talk about this, in theory at least. There we go. So one place to look to see whether you got a better work environment or not is back to Pink's mastery, autonomy, and purpose. Relatively small firm means, as I mentioned, no career ladder, and a chance to focus on your craft and what you're good at. That's potential for mastery. Teams taking charge of projects and actually producing a product almost requires autonomy. So autonomous behavior out of the individual so that the team can be autonomous. I think of the three, purpose is the most difficult. It's the most difficult because it's not realistic to expect that every employee is going to sync up with and feel purpose for the business of every one of your clients. However, what you can expect, and what is very powerful, is that those employees all feel in sync with the purpose of the creative consultancy. So as an example of that, the purpose of Atomic Object is something we set 10 years ago, and that's an answer to a question. Always looking for better ways of building software. We believe there are better ways of building software. The cool thing about this purpose is it doesn't run out. In 10 years, we're still looking for better ways of building software. And all of our designers and developers and our support staff are on that quest with us. I believe individuals are more important in creative consultancy because the assets of the creative consultancy are all in the people. All those things I mentioned, they reside in people. This gives people leverage, which is a good thing. I believe that it's common that creative consultancies have what is called a commitment culture. That's as opposed to a bureaucratic culture or an engineering culture or a couple of others that people have identified. In commitment cultures, people make commitments to each other. That's what keeps them at the company. And the company makes a commitment to the people. I think in some cases, you know, I've been using size in a negative sense to compare against large corporations, but size compares well when you look at the other way too, compared to freelance. So compared to freelancers, with a creative consultancy, you have some people to share those onerous things like benefits and physical space and administrative help and marketing and sales and all that kind of stuff. You're not alone doing all that. There's efficiency there. You also have a brain trust of people to draw upon. Someone's got your back when you need some help. And pragmatically speaking, it gets you through the peaks and valleys of work demand, which is positive. I think variety is also a big plus that provides a better work experience, a better work environment, because you're not working on the same product or the same domain over and over and over. You're working for a variety of clients potentially, and you're getting a lot of different exposure. That's a double-edged sword, of course, excuse me, because by virtue of moving around products and domains, you need to be able to learn quickly and keep up with things and keep your mastery at the level it needs to be at. So it's challenging. Given the nature of what creative consultancies do, it seems like a silly question to ask, well, where's the innovation? After all, what I'm claiming is all they work on is innovation. But notice, it's the innovation for their clients. It's not their own innovation. So how do service companies innovate? That should be the answer to the question of what's innovative about a creative consultancy. After all, they're service companies. My answer is you'll find it in the same thing where your assets are. You'll find it in your people. If you're passionate about what you do, if you have chosen to work at a place where you're exposed directly to the competitive pressures of the market and where you are challenged for success and responsibility of projects and a commitment to the people you work on, then you're probably not going to be happy with the status quo. And even when things are going well, you realize there are better ways to do things. You could have made something less expensively, you could have made it quicker, you could make it better user experience. So this dissatisfaction you feel with the status quo is like a pressure. And if you combine that pressure with smarts and creativity, that's where you get innovation. In short, people who care innovate. Another issue that's very close to my heart right now, because my company is 10 years old, is sustainability. Can we make a creative consultancy that lasts as long as a law firm can last? That's the way I frame it. Is it possible? I'd like to say that there are 3 essential factors to get right to have a sustainable company. That's idea, execution, and culture. And of these 3, the last one is the critical one, the not obvious one, but the critical one, especially for a creative consultancy and a culture of commitment. And I think on top of many other things, creative consultancy's culture must include respect for the mastery of craft, flexibility and adaptability to client needs, and a constant vigilance to understand what the market wants and what service you should be providing. My own company's 10 years old this summer. We've had 3 distinct additions to what we offer the market in those 10 years. And I can see a 4th one on the very near horizon. If we had missed some of those, I don't think we'd still be around, honestly. So somehow you have to wire that perception into your DNA and look very carefully all the time for your opportunities and make sure you're providing the value you can provide. The last issue I want to consider is size. I mentioned it several times as a structural advantage, actually, of being neither too big nor too small. The companies, the examples I gave, all had between 20 and 50 employees, with one exception, that was IDEO. IDEO has 400 to 500 employees, but interestingly enough, they have 8 offices all over the world. So it's approximately the same per office as the other companies. In fact, this idea of creating another office in a second market is a pretty common growth strategy for the companies I'm following. I have a little data there for you out of the custom software development field. In the United States, there are approximately 24,000 firms that are in that custom software development category. The average size is only 15 employees across all of those firms. The revenue of the 85th percentile is $1.2 million. So if you have one of these firms and you have $1.2 million in revenue, you are bigger than 85% of the rest of the market there. So this is a market full of very, very small companies. And I think there's a reason for that. So there you have it. More fulfilling work, better results for clients. What more could you ask? I think this is an idea worth spreading. I think you should start one of these things. Or, if you don't want to start one, you should look for one to work for. The good news is it's never been easier. The hurdles are lower, the barriers are lower than they ever have been. Because it's a service company, you can bootstrap with very little cash and you can grow organically. You can share your expertise because you, after all, you're masters of some craft. And that gives you opportunity to do something called thought leadership marketing, which is both inexpensive and effective, and genuine and authentic. I like to refer to Atomic Object as a post-Google company. And I say that because half of our revenue comes from out of state. We don't go looking for work from out of state, but half of our revenue is coming from companies that are out of state, and they're finding us through our thought leadership marketing, which is to say our website and our blog. None of that revenue is coming from traditional advertising channels or from traditional salespeople. Between publications and presentations, our very active blog, Facebook, Twitter, and whatever the heck it's going to be next month, it's a very effective way of having companies find us. I think if you're not convinced enough that it's going to be a better place to work and that you're going to be offering value to your clients, there's a third, somewhat altruistic pitch here, which is you should do this for the sake of our communities. Competitive, effective companies, innovative companies are an economic competitiveness issue. Our communities require this for the wealth they generate, because that wealth can be turned into things and experiences and opportunities that we want, that our kids want, that our communities need. Creative consultancies have both a direct and an indirect impact. Directly, for the revenue they bring in from their hard work and their good ideas and the efforts of their hands, and then indirectly for the value it brings to their clients. It's not easy working in a creative consultancy or starting one. You're directly responsible for your work. There's no hiding. Your business model has no leverage whatsoever. It's basically an hour out and a dollar in. You're only as good as your last job, and you're entrusting your livelihood to a handful of people. On the other hand, there's challenge and reward, and they usually go hand in hand. At the core, you get work that you're passionate about doing with people you're committed to. And how else would you want to spend a third of your prime life?